if your at home life is good, your work life is good. So why aren't we sewing more at home? And then if we can teach our employees to maximize their day so they're not bringing our stress to their home, they can be the fathers they need to be, the husbands they need to be. Now we're impacting a community.
Welcome back to the Reagan Report. I have the privilege of introducing and welcoming John Huffman Construction Group. Yep. And Jack, of a lot of different trades, you're doing a lot of amazing things and helping out. So I'm excited to have you on the podcast today. If you guys don't know who John Huffman is, get ready, buckle those seatbelts. You're in for some powerful information. So welcome to the podcast.
Man, I'm glad to be here, brother. And I think it's the honor that I'm here, man. And again, it was an honor having you at my first event last Saturday, and having you in those seats meant a lot to me. So I appreciate that, man.
Dude, here's the deal. I know John won't say this because he's a very humble individual, but John had an absolute stellar event. The people that were in the room, that I was chatting with, couldn't have said anything more powerful or better about the event. So John came in. We just had an event not too long ago. It was on 4/20, 8 a.m. on a Saturday, right? So first of all, if you're there, and you're in the room, you're there to make a difference for yourself. And then, yeah, sometimes we're ready personally to make a difference, but John came in, and John, you crushed it. I mean, you motivated the people there, and I know everyone left with nuggets and nuggets and nuggets of information to apply to themselves, their business, their relationships, their faith, different things like that. So kudos to you, because as the event person, It's not easy. It's not easy, right? So you crushed it.
Yeah, I left there and I was like, man, I told my wife, I was like, this is where I want to go as far as, just speaking life into people and putting on these events. And I've been a part of other people's events, really big events, but I've never done what you do. And when that was over, I was like, wow, that is a lot of work. It is so much more than just showing up and making sure everybody does their part. And that's another thing, is making sure you have the right team, man. I mean, because
critical.
One person slipped and that whole thing would have fell apart. From setting up tables, checking in, answering emails, getting the count. We figured on 100 people, and then a week before we were at 117. So I had to call Laylee and change the food. It's just, there's a lot of moving parts, man. So kudos to you for putting on the events you put on. And that's one of the. Obviously, you're a great person and a great friend, but I know how many events you put on. So I was like, if I can get Andrew in the room, he'll be honest with me. And I know that we have that relationship. You do that. So it was, again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it was an honor to have you there, man. So I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate being there. And again, my events are different than yours. And, mine are, in a sense, a lot easier, kind of social gathering, right? There is a lot of moving parts, but you had a very structured, you did a good job. And, it doesn't matter if we're talking about events, if we're talking about business, if we're talking about relationship or anything like that. What you did is you added value.
Amen.
You did that, and that's the biggest thing. I know people left with value, and if you can do that in any facet of your life or your business, it's gold.
That's
it. So,
yeah.
John, who the heck are you, man?
Yeah, man. So, it's funny. Tim Jarrett was there, and he said, I love John. He's Pastor John. He's Speaker John. He's business owner John. And, I look at it all as I'm just John Huffman, right?
Yeah.
And the deal is I have a passion to speak into lives and preach. But if you know me and you hang out with me long enough, I'm the same Pastor John at work as I am when I'm preaching on Friday nights or preaching in different organizations. Or if you're in my house, my daughters, I says, hey, baby, what did you guys get? What was your biggest takeaway? It said, Dad, you've been teaching us this since we can remember. You didn't say anything that we weren't already aware of, which made me proud in a sense. I had my employee there, Tiago. He's one of my key players, and he said, I'm not saying I don't take this seriously, but I'm going to take this to a whole new level, because I realized that day sitting in that room, I get to spend time with you and learn these things, and you pour all this into me, and you pay me to pour into me. He's like, so I'm taking this to another level. Because it really brought him to life. It's like, people are paying you to teach them these fundamental principles that I get to walk in every day. And he goes, I have a little bit of Tiago and a little bit of your systems. And he goes, after today, it's all you. I'm throwing everything away that I've been doing until I've mastered what you're teaching from that stage, because you're pouring that into me and actually paying me, and I get to listen. So I thought that was really cool too.
That is powerful.
Yeah,
and if you're an employee out there, you're working for someone else, you need to analyze what John just said, and process it. Because here's the thing. I know my generation, I know our culture right now is, well, I'm the staff. Yeah, you should be paying. I'm helping you out so much. Well, you're working for an entrepreneur or someone that you look up to, probably because you took the job.
Right.
Learn from them. Figure out how that's a value add to you. Oh,
Yeah.
that's powerful. That's big.
It was cool, man. It was cool to hear. So that's me, man. Quick story, I found myself at 25 years old, desperate, broken, already had a business, failed, took shortcuts in life, went down the wrong path, ended up addicted to opiates and things of that nature, and went through a Christian program and stayed in ministry for 3 years. And, God just reignited all the gifts and blessings he poured into me that I was using for my own purpose. And, I started my entrepreneur journey the right way a little over 11 years ago. And the rest is a wrap, man. And, my goal is to bring ministry to the marketplace, because if I can get, I always say this, I'm speaking against the grind, man, because we're wearing this badge of grind on our shoulders of these 80-hour work weeks and these 4:30 in the morning rises and 8 o'clock at night. And the truth is, you're not performing well after 8 hours. I don't care who you are. You're just not. You're just doing it to do it because you think it's the right thing to do.
Doesn't matter how much coffee you drink. You're not performing.
You're not
Exactly.
performing well at all. Right. And I want to bring the family back, because I know if I can teach the entrepreneur, the one that's really running the community, how to sow into his life. Because I'll say this: you ever been in a fight with your wife and you guys are mad at each other? That's the worst day at work, right? You're texting back and forth. We've all been in that relationship where it's like you're miserable all day. Right. So it's like, if you're at home life is good, your work life is good. So why aren't we sowing more at home? And then if we can teach our employees to maximize their day, so they're not bringing our stress to their home, they can be the fathers they need to be, the husbands they need to be. Now we're impacting a community. So that's where I'm at today. Is like that mission is structure entrepreneurs and key players to maximize their time, put these fundamental practices together, and go change the freaking community and ultimately change the world.
John, I know you, and you learned that through experience, didn't you?
Yes, sir. 100%.
Yeah. So, if you're out there, you're struggling right now, obviously John is preaching it right now. There is ways to improve. There is ways to get your 12-hour days under control, where you are working hard and efficiently, but also dedicating that time to your family.
Absolutely. And mapping out your day. I said it many times, you schedule what matters. So if it really matters to you, you'll schedule it. And then you give those things. I mean, me and you before we stopped.
Like what, John? Because we all say it, right?
Yeah.
But what do you schedule?
I schedule everything. So anything that matters
What's
to
the
me
first thing
goes
on your calendar this morning?
First thing was waking up and getting alone with God.
Cool.
Same time, same day, every day.
Every day.
I get up same time and get alone with God every day, right? I answer my emails at the same time every day. Listen, guys, do not let your emails dictate your day, right? Get in your emails same time every day, answer them, and then don't go back into them, because then you can focus on what matters. But if you're focusing on what you need to focus on in that moment, and you go into that email or you get that notification and you look at it, now your focus has changed. So, and how do you do that? Well, my clients might get mad at me. Set the expectation. I'm going to get back to you within 24 hours. And I said it from the stage the other day. By a show of hands, who in here is a doctor? No one raised their hand. So no one's going to die if you don't answer that email or answer that phone right away. Now, you got to be responsible and you got to be responsive and you need to be proactive, but at the same time, at what cost, right?
Right.
And if you schedule those things, I was talking to a client of mine the other day. I said, listen, schedule this task every day. And if that task doesn't come up, then guess what? You just bought yourself an hour and a half.
Done.
I mean, that's the blessing. Like I got
Then
an
get
hour and a
ahead,
half.
right? Figure
Yeah.
out ways to do or things to do and ways to get ahead at that point,
Yeah,
right?
now you
then you could do the
maximize.
emails, right? Then
Right.
you could go take care of it. Because guess what? Later, when you have emails scheduled again, who's got the free time?
That's it.
But you can be with your daughters, your wife, what's important, right?
Right.
So yeah.
So that's it, man. So what I do is I schedule the times I want to be in the gym, the times I want to be home with my kids and my wife, and the extra curriculum. Because here's the deal. Those are the things that matter. All the other stuff there's going to be an influx of. There's always going to be enough work. There's always going to be enough work. So you schedule what matters and then you fill in work around it. Schedule your vacations. If you want 3 vacations, don't wait till you have time to have the vacation. No, in January, schedule your vacations because there's always, it's like having a kid. You're never going to be ready. So schedule it, make it happen, and build around it. And you'll thank me.
Yeah. You have to be more structured. And that's the thing. We are blessed in the world that we live in. The technology is amazing, right? We can quick jump here, move this, whatever. Like you can be very organized. So use the technology and the systems that we have at our fingertips to best service you. You know?
Everybody's got an iPhone or a Droid and they can get Google Calendar. I mean, it's
right there. Come on.
When we did this podcast, it took me 8 seconds to put it on my calendar. Like there's no excuse.
There's no excuse.
And then within an hour when you were in your car, you sent me the invite. So I had it double. Boom, boom.
Yep.
I mean, there's no excuse.
Right.
And we schedule what matters. And now we've got even AI. I mean, there's so much. I mean, there's no reason other than we just want to wear the badge of I'm busy and we're spun,
So let's talk about that because people wear that badge and unfortunately that's not true. Right? Like they're not actually that busy. They could figure it out. Then they're not being raw and authentic, right? And on stage, you were preaching and you were so passionate and I was resonating so much. I just couldn't stop nodding my head and agreeing with you. Is how you are real and authentic to everyone, not only around you in your sphere, but every single person you interact with. If it's a client of yours currently, a potential client, anything, right? You make jokes, you do different things on you being you. Absolutely. How important has that been, being authentic, been a difference in your life, but also your business?
Yeah, I mean, it's why I'm at where I'm at in life today, and I'll tell you something, man. A lot of us have a character that we're portraying, and that's why we're walking around anxious, and that's why we're walking around depressed because, our authentic self is sick of acting, And I told this story the other day. I was in a $15 million house in Mediterra. And it's a small kitchen outside. It ended up being around $50-something thousand for Mediterra. It's not much. But anyways, I was talking to them and they says, hey, you did this job for clients down the street. We love them. They love you. After this, we'll sit down and have a drink. And I says, well, unfortunately, I don't drink. I'm allergic to alcohol. And they're like, you are? And I says, yeah, every time I drink, I break out in handcuffs. And they started laughing, and it was fun. And they're in their 70s and they're in a $15 million house. But I am who I am. And then they brought up, how the house is 25 years old. And I says, yeah, I remember when this was all swamp. This is where we would come, skip school, ride our buggies and four-wheelers, skip school, smoke pot, and drink alcohol. And that's why I got allergic to it and I broke out in handcuffs. And they laughed again.
Right.
They got the proposal. It was signed within 30 minutes of them opening it. And they sent the check, right? And I wasn't...
Do you even think they reviewed it?
I don't know. I mean, it was pretty quick. It was definitely pretty quick.
I think they believed in you. They felt they could trust you. And because of that, that's probably how fast it signed. Right?
I would agree. And I mean, I'm higher than a lot of other contractors. I'm not the highest contractor out there, but I believe that's it too because I'm honest up front. I'm up front with my margins. I'm up front with making money. I mean, yesterday I was sitting in a room with 2 clients and their designer, and they asked me, hey, are you okay with working with designers? I said, I'm absolutely okay, but hear me out. We're a team. If you're bringing on a designer, it's not you and your designer versus me. It's not me and you versus your designer. We're a team. My last core value is liability, no finger pointing. So we're going in this thing as a team. So I don't want her saying it's the contractor's fault. You will never hear me saying it's the designer's fault. If there's an issue, me and her will work it out. We'll figure it out. It'll go away so that we are not the headache that you guys don't want and you're paying not to have. And if I feel the backbiting, I will sit all of us down because none of us or all of us are too old to be dealing with backbiting and backstabbing. I'm just not there in my career. So to answer your question, I'm willing to work with your designer if your designer is okay with that. Yeah. And then she automatically, we're a team. And, you know, a lot of us as entrepreneurs is like, and even John in the beginning years was like, I can't be honest. I can't be real. I can't be authentic. I can't tell them how I really feel about a designer, because how John really feels about a designer is they're always getting in the way, and they think if they got to turn the client against the contractor to make themselves, you know, feel more important or feel like they're earning their dollar. So I just put it out there. And the wife had the biggest smile on her face. I could see she was like, I like the way this guy is. And all I was me. That was it.
You know, and you said something in there, you know, you talk about how your margins, you make money. And I swear in every single business, they constantly are figuring out ways to try to sugarcoat the scenario to show that, oh, I'm doing everything, I'm not making any money here. What?
Like, what's the purpose of that?
Right. Everyone's got to eat. We all got to. We're supporting each other, and so I think it's like this new cultural thing to say, oh yeah, like I'm gonna give you the best deal, blah blah blah. Well, cool, but like you still got to make money. Like no, I can't support you if you don't make money. You can't pay your guys, which you're gonna come to my job, right, or whatever, and halfway through you're gonna leave.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
Yeah, and it's almost. What you're saying makes too much sense for people to comprehend. It's almost like that cliche saying that we hear all the time now, common sense ain't so common no more. But it's exactly that. Like, I've had friends come to my house. I'm going to hook you up, man. I'm going to take care. Like, I had a good friend, Vinny, with Optimal Air and Infinite Electric. He came and did a home generator for me. He's like, bro, I got you. I said, no. I'm paying for a home generator, whether it's you or somebody else. I prefer to give it to you because I know who you are and I want to support your business and your family. Be competitive. That's all I'm asking.
Right.
That's all I'm asking. Be competitive. Right. But don't be coming in here and hooking me up.
Right.
You know, and that's how I feel, because for the selfish reason behind that is what you said. I don't want to get kicked down get the can kicked down the road because he's doing it as a favor. I want the dang job done.
Right.
And 2, I want it done right. And 3, I want to support him in his business.
Yep.
So there is some selfish motive in there, and I'm paying you to do a good job and do it efficiently.
Exactly. You know, and the thing is, I remember specifically when you were talking, you said it, hey, my margins are X, blah, 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 and you talk about it with your client, but then you also go and explain yourself too, right? You're saying, hey, I'm not the cheapest, but guess what? When you go with the cheapest and something happens, yeah, there's finger pointing. There's, oh, well, that's not my fault. Or, hey, it's going to cost a lot more. I will fix that, but it's going to cost more. No. They know when they hire John Huffman, right? They're getting a certain level of quality. That's why they're paying a little bit more, right?
Absolutely.
Hopefully there's not things that happen, but guess what? It's construction.
It's construction. Absolutely.
It's just a matter of time, not an if, right?
Absolutely.
It's a when. So,
and I even tell people that in my coaching program, like, listen, don't idolize me. I ain't no different than you. The only difference between me and you is I put some action behind what I'm teaching you, and I'm wanting you to. But if you idolize me, I can guarantee you, I have one guarantee: I'm going to let you down. I'm going to let you down somewhere. We let our loved ones down. We let our wives down. We let our kids down. Our kids let us down. Our wives let us down. So why are we putting expectations on other people's that the closest people to us can't uphold, right? So, you know, it goes all the way across the thing. And I always tell my clients, and it's a sales pitch, but it works, and I mean it. So it's not just a sales pitch. I mean it. There's one promise I can keep, and that promise is when it goes wrong, I will make it right. That's the only promise I can keep. I can't keep the promise that nothing's going to go wrong. I can't keep the promise that I'm going to hit the deadline. I'm going to shoot for it. I can promise you I'm going to shoot for it, but I can't promise that things happen. But the one promise I will make is when it goes wrong, I will make it right. And because I obviously you were there and you mean every word you say, because I did say, hey, the reason mine are 42% margins is when it goes wrong, there's no finger pointing, and I can take care of that because my core value is excellence, doing the right thing regardless of the cost. And for me to operate in excellence, I need you to pay this cost. And and that's it right there, man.
So, you know, people are going to say, well, John, like, but if you go in there, like, people might not want to sign the paper. You might not get the job, right? And like, man, I'm a small business owner. I got family to feed, people to support, right? what do you say to that?
I say God is a God of abundance and the devil's the devil of a budget, right? If they're not my client, they're not my client.
Yeah.
And I've got to be okay with that. And I teach this, and you got to have faith, and you got to trust you and your process and your authenticity and your faith, because there's been plenty of times where, I shared I was $1 million upside down and my business was failing and my marriage was failing and everything. I was doing $10 million a year. And if you went on Facebook, man, I was rocking and rolling. But the truth was, my wife didn't like me, my kids didn't know me, and I was $1 million upside down. And every sermon I preached was out of the derriere, right? No one knew it though, right? So, you can get upside down really quick. But what I started putting these practices to, because what would happen was I thought I had to get this client that I know I didn't want, and I compromised all my processes, systems, my values, and I would get stuck with a person that was a nightmare, and then I would keep finding those nightmares. My production couldn't keep up with me. I had to sell more because I needed the cash flow, because the crazy clients I didn't want were costing me money, so I had to go find more to pay for me, and that monster just starts eating you, and it's a monster we've all living in. But I've learned to go, I need this job, but if the job's not right, that's okay. I'm not going to compromise taking on this job and then prevent me from doing the job I'm supposed to do with excellence when I get it next week, right? Because that's what happens too. You take on these 2 crappy jobs for cash flow, then you get the job that you're really supposed to have, and you can't operate with excellence, responsiveness, a positive attitude, holding each other liable, because you're too busy dealing with 2 clients you weren't supposed to have in the first place.
Amen.
And you're stretched too thin.
How many times did God show you right when you lose that first person, or you thought you really wanted, or it was good for you, whatever client, whatever it is for your business, how literally either later that day or the next day or whatever it might be, boom, something happens. Bigger, better. Everything is just meant to be at that point. And
absolutely.
The most cliche thing I hear every single time is everything happened for a reason, right?
Yeah.
But talk about it, right? I mean, holy moly, like... Right when you feel it, you're going to be like, man, and you're going to be on that down. You're going to be like, I should have gotten, I should have, discounted, or I should have whatever. Right after that, something happens.
Yeah, I took on one this year, and I told my wife and them, I'm not taking this job. And then the guy called me. He's like, listen, man, I want you to do the job. I'll bring you $280,000 cash tomorrow. I want you to do this job. I promise not to give you a hard time. And he sold me. And we got through the job.
To say that, you should have been like, dang it, no.
And
right?
And of course I was like, dude, you're not giving me 280. I should have been like, oh, really? You're really going to do that? Okay, when you do that, I'll take the job. But I didn't. I just went through and gave me a deposit. And this guy was a nightmare. I had to lien his property, had to go through all of that. And my wife reminded me shortly after, you walked into this office after that meeting and said, you're not taking that job, and you told him you weren't, and you let him sell you. So again, man, and then we got plenty busy, and I didn't allow him to take away from clients like I did in the past, because I was like, I'm going to treat this guy accordingly.
You stuck to it.
Yeah. But yeah, man, you got to have faith, man, and create the processes, create the systems. If you serve everybody, you serve nobody. So figure out who you serve and serve them well.
Amen to that. All right, John, the famous wealth advisor, or most famous, let's say, billionaires and people, a lot of the times they say you got to make, the key to success is by making money on its own, by passive income, while you're sleeping, X, Y, and Z. There's all these different things, right? We are creating content. We're doing it right now. I do it a lot. You do it a lot. You've been doing it for a while. You even made the joke about Facebook, yada, right? You've been doing it for a while, right? First of all, it doesn't happen overnight. Same thing with wealth, okay? But let's talk about that marketing that you're doing and how you're constantly pouring into it, and now you're seeing it tenfold.
Oh, my goodness. And it's been a decade, right? If you go back to my first video, I'm like, look at this baseboard. It goes on the floor against the wall, and then you paint it, right? And I cringe when I watch it, but I started, right? And people will tell me, I used to like watching it just because you would crack me up. Like, I can't believe this guy is doing this. But I was authentic to what I knew and what I was putting out. And I've grown. I mean, I've got like 68,000 followers on Facebook, over 200,000 followers on Instagram. And that enterprise happened within the last 18 to 24 months, right? So for 8 years, I've just been constantly doing it, putting it out there. Now, what I said on that on stage was, it is enterprise. You are maximizing your time because it takes 7 hours to gain someone's trust. It takes 30 minutes to know if you like them or not, but it's 7 hours to gain trust. While I'm at home with my family, I'm eating dinner with them. I'm watching Netflix with them. I'm hanging out with my wife at a restaurant. My content is still producing. Mm-hmm. We had 130 people at the event Saturday. I was hoping for 100. We had 130. Every one of them knew me because of my social media content. I must have met 40 people I never met before. I said, how did they said, I've been following you for years now, right? So even on that aspect of doing the event, it didn't happen overnight. It was the consistency of putting myself out there and that enterprise creating social wealth for me, which ultimately turned a profit for me on Saturday, right? So the wealth that I put in 4 years ago turned the profit 4 years later and is now continually building on its wealth itself. You know, it's the compound effect, right?
Oh, but you said they've been following you. Right. Were they interacting with you? Were they reaching out to you?
Were they idea.
No idea.
I didn't even know. They weren't even liking my post, some of them, because we all do it. We go see who liked it and who loved it. And then I shared the story of the Vanilla Ice of Southwest Florida.
Right.
$90,000 kitchen in an area that I normally wouldn't be in. It's right behind Seed to Table. There's some condos, some townhomes back there.
Yeah.
She put 90 grand in that. The condo only sells for 300. She put 90 grand. She wanted a Huffman kitchen, right? And I had a sales guy at that time, and he dropped the ball. She calls, says, hey, we want to go with Huffman. No one's followed up, so I had to jump in there and do what I do. So she sells it. We're doing a walkthrough. I says, hey, Mrs. I'm not going to say her name. She told me I could. Mrs. Hoffmeister, what made you go with us with Chris dropping the ball and all this stuff? Like, why did you stick it out? She says, I've been following you for 2 years, and I knew if anybody was doing my kitchen, it was you. You're the Vanilla Ice of remodels. And I'm just like, okay, I don't really like Vanilla Ice, but I'm down with that. I'm down with it. I was thinking more DJ Khaled, but hey, I'll be that.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't have to sell her. My content, I was sleeping, I was eating dinner, I was playing volleyball with my daughter.
You were working to other clients, right? Like,
and that compound was working. So, and I said this, listen, we're made in God's image. He is the creator. So if we're made in his image, we are creators. And we're creating every day. It's on whether or not we want to showplace and showcase what we're creating to the world. And with today's technology, we have the ability to showcase what we're creating. Because every day when you wake up and move, you are creating. When you speak, you are creating. So now we have the ability to showcase it. Here's the thing. People say this, especially my coaching clients, I'm not John Huffman. I can't do what you do. Good, because my clients aren't your clients and your clients aren't mine. People that can't stand how loud and aggressive and bubbly I am, they're not gonna go with me. And you don't have to be bubbly and outgoing and all this. Who you are is who your clients are looking for. So don't worry about being somebody else. We're in a place of comparison where everybody's comparing their life to everybody else and they're missing how blessed their life is. Just be you, and I promise you, you will get what you're supposed to get.
You got to be you, right? You got to be. And you said it in the beginning, you're saying it now, but here's the thing. Also, people out there, this video right now, for example, we're shooting on nice cameras and lights and whatever, okay? But it doesn't matter. We all have some phone in our pocket that has a camera, right? Get on there and start doing it. We're all going to look back. I've done it. I was working with Kobe a long time ago. I go back and look at those videos 4 years ago. Ooh, I cringe, man. We're all there, but guess what? We're all improving. Like, it should actually be a, wow, look how far I've come. Not a, ugh, I did that back in the day. Who cares? Get out there, be vulnerable, start creating the content, because it doesn't matter who you follow online. Any social media guru is going to say, put it out there, start doing it. It takes time. I remember listening to a podcast about 7 months ago, and it hit me really hard. This guy has been doing a full-blown podcast, like hour-long session every day, and he was on 4+ years. He had over 1,000, and he never got any traction. It took him years and years and years and years of doing a podcast every single day, every day. And finally it took. Now, that's a lot longer than a lot usually, but it just goes to show It's not going to happen overnight. It doesn't matter if it's wealth, your health, your spiritual, your relationship with your wife, your family, or creating content. So start doing it and doing it a lot.
And make it a habit, man. Make it a habit. Schedule it. And I think that's the problem too with social media today is you got all these 22, 23-year-old kids in Lamborghinis and stuff, and they think they're looking for a magic pill, and the magic pill is consistency. Now, does the magic pill happen? Do people just, fit in and bomb all of a sudden? Yes, but that's an anomaly. That's not every day, and that's not what you should be shooting for.
It's like the guy that's got the six-pack and drinks beers and eats candy bars and sodas every single day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what the heck? That doesn't work.
Exactly.
Right? It's yep.
But it's an anomaly. Yeah. So, yeah, man, start putting it out there. Again, if look me up on social media, go dig. You'll laugh. I was, and here's the cool part too. I was 260 pounds, and I look at some of those videos. Man, I was still confident. I was still confident in what I was doing. So, I mean, just be you and be confident. And here's the thing. The confidence comes from you being you. You asked me what my biggest takeaway was. My wife asked me what my biggest takeaway was for me doing my first event. And here's the truth, and I'll be vulnerable on this podcast. I was fighting my inner critic. I was fighting my inner critic because my inner critic says, "Are you really who you say you are? Will people really come hear you speak? Do you have a message that people want to hear? Or do you need to bring someone else there and draw the crowd to get them to hear you?" So the reason I didn't have the big name and I did 3 sections and pretty much made the whole event about what I could give was because I was in a battle with my inner critic, right? But I was like, you know what? This is what I feel I'm called to do, and I'm going in. And when I had guys like you show up, it just smashed my inner critic because I'm like, if Andrew's here, heck yeah. You know what I mean? Lauren Maxwell's willing to do a sponsor. These people are supporting me. Like, how dare me think I'm not enough? So how dare you who's listening think you're not enough? And the only way to kick your inner critic's butt is to do it. And just show him, no, I am enough, and we're going to make this happen. And be okay with the consistency, and nothing happens overnight.
I'll give you a testimonial because it's really funny. I was sitting in the crowd, and you started talking. I have no clue what the agenda is. I'm there to see John, right?
Yep.
And it made it seem as if there was multiple speakers, right? Because when Will said, "Hey, our first speaker's up," right, and it was you, I was first of all kind of mad and sad because I was like, why is he going first, right? I don't know who the other people is. And then secondly, I was mad and sad when you stopped after whatever 45 minutes. It was like, give it up for John. Thank you so much. I'm like, that's it? Right. I was ready to leave.
Wow.
Right? I was so ecstatic when it was John's back up for the second session, John's back up for the third session. I mean, that's what I wanted. So you might have internally said, oh my gosh, like, am I really doing the right thing by making it all you? And as someone that was in the crowd and wanting to learn from you, I would have been upset if you brought other people in, right? And so it goes to show right now, we didn't talk about this. This is raw and authentic on the podcast right now. You guys and I do this. We all do this. We all have self-doubt. Stop it.
Yes.
Figure out ways to get rid of it, okay?
Amen.
Because I do it constantly with my events. I do it constantly with my business, my relationship, different things. You do it. We all do it. It doesn't matter. We all are doing it. So figure out a way to get rid of it.
And, my wife has said this, and I love her so much. She's like, John, the ones you're looking up to, they're figuring it out right now, too. They can't believe they're in the room they're in. Because I'll come home like, babe, I can't believe I'm in the room I'm in. Babe, I can't believe this. And she's always like, the ones you're looking up to, like, when you get to that table, you're going to be like, hold on. And they're doing the same thing.
Yep.
So, kill it, man. Kill that self-doubt. That's good stuff.
That was amazing. John, we are out of time, but here's the deal. I want to give a plug to you because you've helped so many people. I know a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners that are currently working with you. You obviously, I got a ton of wealth of information. So if you can't do some kind of coaching with John or working with John, maybe you're just not ready or whatever it might be. Everyone's got different situations. But at least when he has the next seminar here locally or wherever, go. Get a ticket. Get to it. You won't regret it. The people in the room, the knowledge you can take afterwards and apply to your business, it's worth the investment. So thank you, John, for coming on here. I know you're a busy man. I know you schedule everything out. You made the time to be here, share some knowledge with our audience, and we appreciate that. As myself, I appreciate it so much.
We appreciate you, man. Everybody that I know appreciates you, man. I remember the first time we sat down, you just got to this. I think it was the Kane group that referred me to you.
Yep.
See, I remember.
Yeah.
And I remember that, man. And I do honor our relationship, and you're doing good things, man. And I love to see you kicking Southwest Florida's butt. I think it was a wonderful decision how you split it up. So, I look up to you, brother, and I appreciate you, man.
Well, thank you guys so much. Reach out to John if you have any questions, you want to learn more, or how he can help your business. Visions Media is sponsoring this, and we appreciate you guys listening to the Reagan Report. We'll see you guys in the next episode.